The Seawind has failed. Look at that one. We're committed now. A little bit nervous, don't want to break any pieces of wood. That worked actually very well. It's very clear that the sealant here is gone. Might be changing plans here. That is very glued on there. So I removed a little camper, a little bevel. All three of them walked a little tiny bit, so now it's like an oblong hole. Well folks, I'm back at it again, and this week it's all about the bathroom, or what we call the head here on Boundless. During our first showers a couple weeks ago, I found quite a few areas of water leaking onto the floor and into the bilge. Leaks on a boat are never good in the long term, and with our rigging situation up in the air, and Katy gone on a work retreat, I thought I would tackle this big project. But not before coffee. Look who it is.
Hello everyone from Austin, Texas. I was just telling Parker that I had my first full day of retreat, and tonight I have to do some prep work for a presentation I have tomorrow, so I'm off to hit the gym and just move my body and get a really good dinner and do some work for tomorrow.
Couldn't have one episode, not even one, without Katy in it somehow.
Not even one.
All right, love. Well, say goodbye to our viewers, and then I'll say goodbye to you.
Bye.
That was another day of work. Takes me about 2 full days to make a video for you all. And I mean full days, but I love doing it, and I think this is a pretty good one. I'm pretty proud of it. I felt like I was in a little bit of a creative slump lately. I think with the transitioning from boats and everything, and then being away from the boat at home and not really having a boat to live on for a little while, but still making videos with the footage that I had, it was kind of like put me in a little bit of a weird place mentally. And now finally we're on Boundless and we're like back to boat life, and I'm starting to feel a little bit of a creative spark again to try new things and to make every video a little bit better than the last, or a little different than the last. I like to try different things. So hope you all enjoy what you're watching, and I'm going to make some dinner. It is Tuesday. Katy gets home on Friday evening, so that means tomorrow I'm going to have about a half a day of work to finish up rendering the video, uploading it to YouTube, writing the description, making the thumbnail, figuring out what the title is going to be, scheduling it to post on Patreon, because our patrons get early viewings. So if you're thinking about supporting the channel, that is one perk. You get early viewings ad-free every week. Yeah. So I'll have about a half a day of that, and then I'm going to get into some boat projects. That is all. I hope you are having a good evening wherever you are. See you later. Hey friends, we're getting into a project today. I finished editing the episode this morning, and it is now uploading to YouTube via Starlink. And in the meantime, I'm in the bathroom sitting on the floor. Why am I sitting on the floor of the bathroom? We have a beautiful shower stall here. The base, the whole way around here, actually leaks a little bit of water. And you can tell that by sticking your head underneath and watching the water drip from the pan. Now, this is not a fiberglass pan. All of this is wood. This is wood covered in Formica. This is painted wood. I'm not sure if there's Formica underneath this white paint here. This is actually the hull. The outboard edge of this shower stall pan actually sits on some of those longitudinal stringers. So this sits on top of, well, this floor sits on top of those stringers. And then you have these trim pieces here, 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 and here. These trim pieces here and here that are against the hull, they actually have fairly large gaps. The sealant has failed. Look at that one. Goes completely behind there where water is getting down. And it would be running behind this like a gutter. Nothing is rotted, so the way they built the thing and the way they assembled it, it has stood the test of time. Now it is time for a little bit of refreshening of some of these sealed surfaces here so we don't have any issues, because Katy and I want this boat to last forever. Alright, so that is a Phillips. Alright, one done. And I did measure, and we do have the right size plugs, teak plugs, to replace those bungs. We're committed now. A little bit nervous, don't want to break any pieces of wood because I don't have any teak to replace them with me. Alright, here we go. Healthy amount of sealant. So I was able to clean this up really nicely, very carefully, and it's really nice that they made these trim pieces out of what looks like almost half-inch stock here. I heard somewhere that every passport boat was fit out with one Burmese teak tree. I don't know where I heard that from. If you do know Passport yachts or the history of the yard that built them, it'd be really interesting to know, really, was it really one tree per Passport boat? That's kind of cool if it was an entire tree that made this entire beautiful interior. That'd be really cool. These boats were built over in Taiwan. They were getting these trees basically right out of their backyard. It's just so cool knowing that this wood was milled and used in such an interesting way to build something that is going to safely take Katy and I across oceans. It is very cool. Look at this. Just nothing. No sealant the whole way. It's so easy to push this the whole way down. The whole way across too. Wow. And look back here. Look at that. It quickly became clear that these wood trim pieces were installed in a very permanent way. All of the miter joints are glued together, and the long vertical pieces going up the wall, of which the caulking has also failed, were firmly attached, and they did not have any visible plug holes for screws. Now, I don't want to destroy any of this beautiful woodwork trying to get it apart, and the fact is, it's in really great shape. I need to figure out a way to clean the old sealant from behind the wood and then re-caulk. Enter the pick. I randomly ran the point along one of the seams, and didn't it remove caulk from behind the wood trim pieces by rolling it into curly cues. Now we're on to something. And on top of that, I have an idea about how to seal up the perimeter of the shower base trim. This thing gets in there and removes the sealant perfectly. Now this particular one isn't bad. The sealant is all completely intact, at least right in this part. But what this does is it actually scratches out some and then renews that surface in there for me to then put a little bit more in there. I think what I'm going to do is actually try and put a bevel on some of these surfaces. So say down here. What I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try and cut a little angle, a nice tasteful straight angle on this to basically like taper that down in there, maybe about that far. Not like 1/8 of an inch or so. And then what I'll be able to do is I'll caulk that, I'll tape it and I'll caulk it. So what I will gain is more surface area for the sealant. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And that way I don't have to take up any of this wood. Thankfully, I didn't get too far into it. I was just really kind of tapping around on this bottom seam right here, trying to see if I could get something under there to see if it would budge a little bit, but I'll be able to just caulk this line again. And that'll be fine. So I think I've come up with a plan of attack. It's also minimally invasive and takes a lot of work out of this whole project, and I think it's going to be just as effective. So, all right. That worked actually very well. Check it out. That is so cool. So I removed a little chamfer, a little bevel of wood, and so this is going to be filled with sealant here. Look, you can see where the water has been getting down in right there. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that black line, that dark black line right there. Right there. These two pieces are in fact glued together, so every one of these joints is actually glued with like an epoxy or something. All right, I think we're on to something.
Using a sharp utility knife and a very steady hand, I am now successfully working my way around the perimeter, whittling a bevel into the outside edge of the trim pieces. This V shape makes a lot of surface area for caulk to seal against, ensuring a watertight seal.
Okay, I ended up taking this piece of trim off, and I'm glad I did, because this is definitely a point of water ingress right here. You can see the outline where that piece of trim came over here. It definitely, look how far that goes down in there. So this was definitely a point of water ingress for sure. You can see a big crack down there. And I have successfully made a really nice chamfer the whole way around. I've been wondering why the Formica is like kind of bubbled up, you know? It's like kind of off, like delaminated a little bit. I thought it was maybe because of punky plywood. That's not the case, and here's the proof. This right here is rubbery contact cement. After they glued the plywood bulkheads into the boat, then they must have laminated this Formica over top of it. And you can feel it bulged out here. So there is actually tabbing behind this Formica that actually comes against the hull and then up onto this bulkhead here. That is how they constructed this bathroom, which is really nice. I was hoping that the plywood, I stood up too fast. I was hoping that the plywood wasn't becoming compromised because of water leaking. These three plywood walls, the part that is below this floor, is in fact unprotected. But they did a good job of tabbing them in. They're very heavily tabbed into the hull down there in the bilge. I'm really happy with what I've found and the progress that I've made. And yeah, that is all. I need some food and a shower. So, the things that I get into when Katy's not here. Hey everybody. Well, we are back in the bathroom, squatted down next to the toilet as usual. While I've been up close and personal with the floor here, I've noticed that this gasket here is leaking and this is leaking. I think we have a rebuild kit for this toilet. I'm gonna have to get into this whole thing. That's why I have this little paper towel kind of wrapped around here right now, because it keeps how there's water that like runs down the hose. You can see that right there. Okay, anyway, so yesterday I ended up taking off the other side, the trim piece on the other side, because of the way my chamfer the whole way around, or bevel, whatever you want to call it, bevel, the way it wants to terminate on this other end. I needed to take this off and get underneath this little corner here. So I did that. It was a very bad position, and I was a little less precise with the drill than I was on the other side. My Forstner bit, my 3/8 Forstner bit, was a little bit off, and all three of them walked a little tiny bit. So now it's like an oblong hole, which means the bung won't fit down in there nicely. Well, good news, I have 1/2-inch bungs as well, and I have a 1/2-inch Forstner bit. So I just used a 3/8 bung and chopped it in half because they're tapered so they get wider at the top. And I just shoved it down in the hole, and it's nice and tight in there, and I'm going to use that to hopefully keep my 1/2-inch Forstner bit centered, and then I'll have a nice tight plug fit. So, all right, wish me luck. Alright, so the first one is done. So that plug, that sacrificial plug, worked really well. Now I have a nice hole that is completely filled with the new bung. How about that? So I'm going to do these other two that I have these other sacrificial plugs in. This one was the worst, so if this one worked, the other ones definitely will work. Knock on wood. Okay, well that couldn't have gone any better. We now have very, very nice holes that accept 1/2-inch bungs, 1/2-inch plugs. Here we are. Set those aside for now. All right, so, jeez, that's a really big step done. So, all right, I have cleaned out all of these cracks as you saw yesterday. And I've made my bevel or chamfer, whatever you'd like to say, on the edge, which basically, it effectively doubles the amount of surface area that I'm trying to seal here, because this is an angle down towards the wall and then the wall, so it's twice the amount compared to if I didn't remove the material and I just laid a bead of caulk here, the amount that would get down in that really small crack would have been hardly anything. I have a little more cleaning up to do, and then I'm going to do some taping. I think a little bit of sanding. Actually, I kind of have quite a bit more cleaning to do first. So, okay, all right, that is all. Back to work. Everything's sanded. Just gotta sweep it all off now. Sand all that real good. And that corner too.
Like and subscribe. Have you liked and subscribed? You better like it. You have to like and subscribe.
Sailing Seawind, like and subscribe.
Sailing Seawind, like and subscribe. You heard him, like and subscribe.